Thank you for letting me conduct this interview for my Indian Studies class. First off, we'll start by you talking about where you were born and where you grew up.
Well, you're very welcome. And I was born in Wagner, South Dakota, a small town southwest of here, about 120 miles. I grew up in various places during my childhood, mostly in South Dakota, however. We moved a lot due to my father working on dam projects, but we mostly lived in the Lake Andes, Wagner area, the Pierre area, Sioux Falls area, that type of thing. And my grandparents lived in the Lake Andes, Wagner area, so we frequently were there.
Born and where you grew up.
Hi, Kayla. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I was born in Wagner, South Dakota, which is a small town in South Dakota, not far from Sioux Falls. We did move closer to the Sioux Falls area when I was quite young, and then when I was about 3 to 4 years old, we moved down to Denver, Colorado, where I spent about 3 to 4 years until I was in second grade, and then we did move back to the Sioux Falls area. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad does construction. He continues to do so today.
All right, the next question is, can you talk a little bit about your education, marriage, and family?
Well, my education happened in this region also, but I didn't attend college. I was married young. And marriage, I've been married for 46 years. And I have 2 daughters, 4 granddaughters, 2 grandsons, and 2 great-granddaughters. We're a very close family, and we like to take a lot of trips together. We like to travel and have many adventures together. And I've always liked being a part of my kids' and grandkids' extracurricular activities and sports, such as gymnastics, dance, cheer, baseball, football, all of them.
Okay. Is there a lot of diversity in your education and work?
Well, in my education, since I did go to rural schools here in South Dakota, there wasn't a whole lot of diversity. However, working with pediatrics here in Sioux Falls, I do come across many different races, and it does become a challenge to work with these different cultures and to blend their culture, our modern healthcare, and takes a lot of understanding of other races and beliefs when taking care of these children.
Okay, to you, does race and racism continue to play a role in American society? How has it played a role in your life?
Well, I think racism will always have a place in society as long as people are imperfect. And I think that in my life, I grew up in an area that had a lot of Native Americans, and we never thought a lot about them. My grandmother was half Indian herself, and I wish that I had learned more about that culture while she was living. But we never really thought too much of them being any different than us. There were some in their groups that weren't thought of very highly, just because of some of their habits and so forth. But we all got along very well. I don't think as children you're that discriminatory.
I think that we as a society have come a long way in recent years. I also feel that there's a continued need for improvement. When I look back in history, even a few decades ago, and see how poorly minorities were treated, it's really hard to imagine that this was ever considered okay. I do, however, believe groups that were once considered mistreated in the past should not feel that they are entitled to special treatment now. I think that we can go a little too far the other way. And some of these minority groups feel that they do not need to work for the quality of life that they desire. They feel that they are just entitled to it, and their right because of the way that they were treated in the past.
Have you ever had a friend from a different race? If so, how has it changed your attitude of racism, and how has it impacted your life?
I have had friends of different races. I had a very close girlfriend who's black, and we were very close, and I don't think I've ever thought of myself as being racist as far as individuals are concerned, or color, that type thing. But I think in recent years, when we've seen things happening with the attitudes of certain groups, I think I've probably become a little more discriminatory than I ever was before, a little bit more racism. I don't like to use that word, but generally I think all people are equal and should be treated as such.
I have not really had a close personal friend from a different race, although my children have. My kids were very close to other races when they were growing up in school, and they were great friends to each other. I think all people should be treated as equal and should be judged not by their race, but by their contribution to society. I respect people for their hard work, high moral standards, and willingness to help others far above just their race. It's difficult not to stereotype certain groups of people. There are good and bad people in all groups, and I feel that rather than stereotyping the group, we should judge people on their own individual merit. This is certainly how I would like to be treated. I feel that even though I did not grow up with a very diverse group of people, I do feel that with my current job and having worked with many people of different races, that I have learned a lot about their culture, and I have learned to respect that culture and try to work with it and understand them as individuals. I think that we have definitely come a long way in learning to treat people as equals rather than mistreating minorities. I do feel, though, that we have a lot of room for improvement and hope that we can make great strides here in the future.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Thanks again. And that's all the questions I have for you. Thanks.
Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you so much for having me this evening.